My specialities were drugs, sex crime, including paedophilia and gang culture. Whether that was street staff or high end, I would be the one they would deploy for that. The best cases I ever were involved in were 100% because I was young and a female, and I got the best results in my career because of that. It wouldn't have worked if you'd put a man in that position. And I could hear like these footprints behind me, and before I knew it, I was on the floor and he had his hand around my throat and he was doing what he needed to do. The job probably saved me because it was I didn't have to be myself. I could be whoever I was being on a job. Anyway, we got the gear, and then the dealer decided he took a shining to what he was seeing and followed me, and we had a little chat. I thought he was going to rob the crack back, and I was like, oh. So I told him I'd plugged it, and I hadn't. It was in my pocket. He pulled me down an alleyway and told me what he wanted me to do to him.
Oh my God.
In the police, I'm like, we've got another conviction, that's amazing. And it's just a massage game of figures, and I don't agree with that. Welcome to Grab the Mic with Danni and Eleanor.
Thank you very much. Danni Brooke, ex-undercover police officer for the Met Police. Maybe best known for your work on the Hunted, the Channel 4 programme. Yeah. Book author of two books?
It's the same book, but we rebranded and added more chapters to the second.
Ah, okay. So second edition.
Yeah.
Nice. Co-founder of the OSINT group.
Yes.
With your life partner, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Live together, work together, travel together.
Oh my God, we'll have to get into that later. And you do a lot of keynote speaking now as well, don't you? You live in Spain.
Yes.
But you travel, you were just telling me you've probably spent about 6 weeks at home this entire year so far. Is that all right? Is that all correct?
That is true, yes.
Oh my God, what a life you lead. It sounds amazing. For some,
it sounds glamorous.
To me, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's not very glamorous. I'm tired. I've been on the road for 3 weeks. I've got a sore throat. I'm living out of a suitcase.
Oh my God.
So I'm happy to go home and have some cooked dinner from my own oven and make it myself and not have someone else do it for me. But I am fortunate. I understand I'm fortunate.
You say home because obviously Spain is your home now, but obviously you are originally from England.
Yes, I'm from East London. And everyone always assumes I'm from Essex. And I did go to school in Essex, but I grew up in East London and then moved back to East London when I was old enough to leave home. So I sort of class East London as home. I've still got like a massive spot, like soft spot for Tower Hamlets. And it is what it is, Tower Hamlets, if you know it. It's like great on some aspects, terrible on others. But we do have the best bagels, so...
Everyone says that about East London. Everyone talks about the bagels. In fact, the bagels, this is not their debut on Grab the Mic. We have had people talk about East London bagels on here before.
They are true. But you have to go top end shop. Yeah. There's 2 shops about 2 doors away from each other. The top end is the best one.
Firstly, for listeners that aren't familiar with the concept of OSINT or don't know what it is, and there will be some, can you just describe, so obviously it is the name of your company, but it is also the discipline of what you do. What is OSINT?
In short, it's like online investigation, online intelligence gathering. So we kind of word it like it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and we need to find all the pieces of the jigsaw and put it together. I'm not a technical person at all. I'm not that person. It sounds really cool, doesn't it? Cybersecurity. Everyone goes, wow, that sounds really...
Does it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I meet people all the time and I'm like, oh, wow, you're so cool. I could never do that. But yeah, in essence, I've just transferred my skills that I took from the police my whole adult life. I was an investigator, I'm an intelligence gatherer. I've just taken that to online because in 2024, we have to be aware of what's going on online. But it's not going away. It's getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, online investigations, I guess, is the simplest way of putting it.
And the actual definition is it open source intelligence?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, none of it's illegal.
Yeah.
And by open source, it's it's freely available. Anyone can do it. You just got to know where to look.
Of course. It's exciting work, that is for sure.
Sometimes it is. We sometimes we get really cool cases and you find really cool stuff. And if I had £1 for every time someone said, I'm not online, I don't really do much online, I'm like, that's a challenge. and people forget as well, they might not put stuff online, but their friends, their families, colleagues, they all put stuff online. So just by, default, they're at risk without realising it.
I think when I first met you, at a networking event after an industry conference, and you were telling me what you did, and I was telling you I was a cyber journalist, and I was saying I'd love to do an experiment with you where you see what you can find about me, because actually I think I'm quite good at knowing what I put online and being careful. I'm quite cynical after sort of doing this for 18 years. And then afterwards, when I thought about it, not a couple of wines in, I thought, why would I do that? That sounds awful.
It's true.
I don't want to know, actually.
No.
And I got a bit scared by it, so backed out.
Yeah, we had this recently. We were working with a big fintech bank in London, and they wanted us to look at their C-suite, which is quite common. We do that quite a lot because obviously blackmail's huge at the moment. And the CFO said, you can use me. Like, it's complete. I don't have anything to worry about. And she didn't, to be fair, she didn't have anything that would be alarming, but we voice cloned her.
Okay.
And then when we played it to her, just before we were about to go into the presentation, she said, actually, I don't want you to use that. Because it scared her. She said, that actually sounds like me.
Yeah.
I said, well, it would. It's voice cloning. And she was like, no, I really don't like it. So we like looked at each other, me and my husband, and we were like, what are we going to do now? Because
there goes our presentation.
Yeah, she was our whole presentation. So it's like dig one out of the archives and say, use this.
Oh, God.
But yeah, people don't like to know. But similarly, if you know, you can
do something about
it. Yeah,
definitely. I'm always interested in the generational differences between people and their awareness about not just social media, but their privacy and their online identity and footprint. Are the younger generation now, the Gen Z, are they actually more aware and better, even though they use social media more? Are they more aware of the privacy aspects than? No.
No, they're not. I think a lot of people just think it won't happen to them. And we do see it different in different countries, like different landscapes. So in the UK, we see kids are just like, it is what it is. We live online. I've got nothing to hide, whatever. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the States or North America, we see that actually a lot of social media accounts are private rather than open, which is really annoying when you're trying to do digital footprints on them. But I think people know that you live online. It's just what it is. We actually teach quite a lot of academies, football academies, that what you put online now, in 10 years, if you're playing for the Premiership and you're in the top teams, that stuff you're putting online now will still be there and people will see it in 10 years, and you might not want that, or you might not think what you think now in 10 years. So you've got to be mindful about what you're putting on there. When the in-house staff tell them, they're like, yeah, whatever. But then when you come in as an outsider, they're like, oh, actually, I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, isn't it? Like we've all done it. When MySpace first came out,
gosh,
that's how old I am.
I remember MySpace.
When that first came out, people were just putting their whole lives on there because we didn't understand it. But I do think we talk about it more now than we used to. And I think talking about the risks and the dangers without taking the fun out of it, if it's in the forefront of your mind, you might give it two thoughts rather than one thought about what you're putting on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And also cancel culture has never been greater. So when you're talking about the youth teams for football clubs, for example, you can imagine that would get to them because they are envisioning this big career where they're going to be a big celebrity. They don't want to get cancelled somewhere down the line. So I think it's really, it's more relevant than ever before, isn't it?
I think so. And I think it's a bit sad because a lot of us, even adults, we look at what's going on online and we want that life. So then the people that have a little bit of spotlight exaggerate things a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And then maybe in 10 years when they look back at it, they'll think that wasn't even what I was doing. So it's just it's a really fine line of making the most of it while you can, but not being embarrassed in 10 years.
It is so, there's nothing more cringe than looking back on your own self when you were like 21 or whatever, and the types of statuses you used to put on Facebook or MySpace.
Yeah, it is bad, but it's really entertaining when you're doing someone's digital footprint and you're like, you're now a massive CEO of one of the biggest companies and you put that. It's amazing.
I will go into the quick fire, but I've got one more question because I was interested to find actually that you have an open Instagram account.
I do.
And in I guess first impressions you think, well, that's quite counterintuitive given what you do. But then obviously you're very aware of everything you push out, and you also do a lot of speaking engagements and you've got a public profile. So I totally get why you have it. But you are quite open with it. And I was able to learn a lot about your family. It was lovely, seeing everything. But what's the sort of thinking behind that?
I kind of thought, well, I've got a book that details absolutely everything about my life, or a majority of my life. So people know I have children. And it's not hard to find out if I've got children. They know I have. most of my profile is me and my husband. He's got a public profile. He's Instagram. He's all of his social media is locked, but he's like, people know we're together. I never post where I really am at that time.
Yeah.
It might be a day or two late. And I'm conscious of it. But again, I'm like, it's a fine line, isn't it? It's a balance. Am I giving away enough that could put me in danger? Mm-hmm. Or am I just playing my career? Because it's my career. Like I know everyone talks about Hunted, and I was fortunate, and it did give me a big platform to step up onto, to then get the keynotes and then to get another TV shows and stuff like that. But I think you need to have something in this day and age.
Even that though, that you've given a tip there in itself, which is delay the posting of where you are for a couple of days. So that's a really simple thing, which lots of people wouldn't do. Yeah. Which obviously makes people aware that they're not at home or anything. So even a tip that simple, I think, is quite effective. Yeah,
and people are particularly bad, like people like with a big profile, not mine, my profile's tiny, but really big influential people, and they will put that they're going on holiday. So we know now that your house is empty. Mm-hmm. And we see all the time in the press where, and I keep going back to athletes, but they're getting burgled with, thousands and thousands of dollars or pounds because they know the house is empty.
Okay, right, quick fire. It doesn't sound like you do an awful lot of relaxing, but what does relaxing look like to you?
Oh, God, I would love to do that. We normally take a big chunk over Christmas off.
Yeah.
So after all the issues that we have with Black Friday, because there's always some kind of cyber scam going on and people start panicking, we take a big chunk over Christmas off usually, and we go overseas, or we might be at the house, or we'll be with family, but we don't really relax. When you're self-employed, you realise you have to take every opportunity. So we'll say no phones today, and we both just kind of sit there, and then he'll say, should we go and have a look at that? I'm like, yeah, let's go and get, because you need to check your emails. So we don't really relax, but I guess in an ideal world, it would be just be me, my husband, Amelia and Albert, my children, and on a beach.
What's your favourite animal?
Oh, if I don't say dog, the kids and Ben will be like, why would you not say dog? I'm not much of an animal person.
Are you not?
I like dogs. I would have a dog if we were at home more, but probably dogs, but not a big dog. Like a cute, really embarrassing one.
Like a handbag dog.
Yeah, definitely. One that Ben would say I'm not walking.
If you're having a dinner party and you could invite one female celebrity and one male celebrity to come to it, who would you have?
Oh, that's difficult. Oh, female, probably someone like Karen Brady, because I really like her work ethic, and I just think she's pretty like hardcore. Yeah. And I'm sure behind the scenes she's like, actually, like, what am I doing? Because everyone does that.
Yeah.
Just someone easy on the eye like Pep Guardiola on the male side of it.
Love it.
I feel that's a good balance.
Good answer. Okay, and finally, you may not have one, because given your work, you're obviously quite a brave person, but what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear would probably be just to be on my own. I like my own time and my own company, but I feel most relaxed when the four of us are just us four.
Yeah.
The four of us, even if we're all annoying each other, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
So probably something to do with the children not being with me all the time would be hardcore.
Yeah, I could totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
Totally get that. So speaking of being brave, you went into law enforcement when you were only 18, is that correct?
Yeah.
What was your motivation for doing so, and what were you hoping to get out of it, I suppose?
I actually thought I was going to be a defence barrister.
Okay.
I don't know why I thought that. But I wanted to be a power suit wearing, sports car, living in Wapping. Like, I thought that was going to be my life.
Right.
It didn't happen. I did A-levels, applied for uni, and my dad was a police officer, and he said, they're looking for women, why don't you just apply? Wasn't really bothered. Where I grew up, being a police officer wasn't necessarily a good thing. Yeah. And I applied, and I kind of just said, well, if they ask me to do the interviews, I'll just do them anyway. And because I was so desperate, I had interviews, tests, and then I got a date saying, it was actually a Sunday, I got a phone call saying, can you come tomorrow?
Wow.
Because someone's not turned up. So I actually turned up a day later than everyone else in my course.
Wow.
And that was it.
And you went in as uniformed officer, obviously. How long were you doing that before you went undercover?
Not long. So I was still in my probation. My first deployment was in Tower Hamlets, where I grew up, which is a bit wild, but I wanted to do it because it was familiar and I liked it. And if you know Tower Hamlets, you have extreme wealth and extreme poverty literally side by side. So I knew that working would be cool. You'd deal with so many cool things.
Okay.
But I was only in uniform for a while, and then they said, can you go out in plain clothes? Which is completely different to what undercover is. But I thought it was undercover. And it was me and my colleague, and they said, you two don't really look like coppers. So tonight, come in your civvies and see what happens. And we were literally getting some of the best results ever. Like that, people were like, wow, that was really good. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, yeah, it's really good. Just like following my colleague around because I don't know about this stuff. I'm new. And then I got a phone call from my governor saying, tomorrow don't come into work, go straight to the yard, like New Scotland Yard. Or what's now the old New Scotland Yard. You need to go to this floor and meet this person. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to get sacked. I've pushed the boundary too far. Yeah. I'm really a nervous person, which people are like, no, you're not. I have full on breakdowns and like, I'm like, oh my God, but what if like this happens? And Ben will be like, just go and do it. And when I got there, it was the guy who ran the covert unit. And I know he thought like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I was doing. And I said yes to doing the course and had no idea that it was actually different to plain clothes work. I thought it was just plain clothes and I'd be with someone and we'd go out and, arrest them. But obviously when you're undercover, you're a completely different person.
It's being an actress when you describe it like that, isn't it? You're acting with someone.
I never even gave that thought until I left. It was only recently someone said that to me and they were like, did you do acting? And I was like, no.
Yeah, but
absolutely not.
I suppose you did.
But yeah, you're literally someone else. You've just got another persona. And each undercover officer has different sort of strengths. And we'd have like foreign speakers. We would have arts, people that were really good at art dealing and mechanics, builders, like everything. Everyone had a speciality because, of course, you're not always infiltrating someone straightforward. You've got to fit the part. There wasn't many girls. And I'm quite a girly girl, so there wasn't many of us around. And my speciality sounds really bad. My specialities were drugs, sex crime, including paedophilia and gang culture. So anything in those sort of worlds I would, whether that was street staff or high end, I would be the one they would deploy for that.
You're so young entering that world as well.
But I didn't know any different.
Up really quickly.
I didn't know any different. So I think I was kind of just told to do it. And when you're young, you want to impress, don't you? So when the people are saying to me, go and buy crack, I'm like, okay. I didn't really understand it. I'd never done a drug in my life. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. Looking back on it, I would never be able to do that now in a million years. I'd be too scared. But
it's funny, as you get older, isn't it? You become more risk averse and your fears intensify, and things like skiing you're not as good at because you see the dangers.
I could fall there.
Exactly. So it's interesting that you say you don't feel like you could go back and do that job again now.
I'd be terrible.
Too scared.
Yeah. And also the way that we live now is different to when I did it. We didn't really have social media. Like, I don't know how, I know officers that are still serving and doing that work, but I wouldn't ever question or ask how, because that's not fair to ask, but I do want to know, because how hard is that? You can build a fake profile, but like, you would see through it, because you need to have interaction and life. And you can have it private, but then if you're infiltrating somebody and you want them to trust you, you need to have them in your social network. So I wouldn't like to do that. There's too much to think about.
Yeah. One of the coolest things I think about you is when I sort of introduce you to the episode and you describe all the things you've done, you don't expect you to look like you. I think when we had an FBI agent on the podcast a couple of days ago, he'd served in the FBI for 24 years. He looked like an FBI agent. Yeah. You don't look like that. You don't look like the roles you've had. And I wonder whether that's actually served you really well in the fields that you've been in, because perhaps society does underestimate you as a woman, but not just as a woman, but you're obviously very young. Do you think that's helped you?
100%. And I think that a lot of the people I was infiltrating were men. And I know this sounds awful, but it's just true. Yeah. Men trust women more than a man would trust another man. Yeah. So, and I would just play stupid. Like, shut up. Like, no, yes, like, and then just like let them think I'm the idiot. Yeah. Like, I really don't care what you think about me. I really don't. So if you think I'm stupid, but I'm getting actually what I want. And I'm a Libra. We're really stubborn. We're really stubborn people. So we don't like losing. But yeah, no, definitely it did. Like the best cases I ever were involved in were 100% because I was young and a female. And I got the best results in my career because of that. It wouldn't have worked if you'd put a man in that position. But similarly, there's cases that I've been involved in that I wouldn't have got very far without the man with me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the way it is. And there aren't no one in my team or people I worked with. Yeah, we had egos as in we didn't want to lose to the people we were infiltrating, but amongst each other, I didn't care if they said, you can't do this one because I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to offend me by saying you can't because you're a girl.
No.
Unless it's like me being competitive, then that's going to really make me do it. But yeah, no, if the operational need is it needs to be a man, like, cool.
Yeah.
Whoever, I don't mind that at all.
And you said that you worked sort of in drug trafficking and paedophilia as two of the main specialisms. So did you have to act or dress up as a younger girl, I suppose, for that role? Yeah.
Yeah, probably my most successful job deployment, I was obviously a lot younger, I should add, and a lot slimmer. There was a guy who had committed 121 offences, sexual offences, on young schoolgirls. And he started off with upskirting, and each offence got a little bit worse, and it was like a bit of touching, and before he actually raped somebody. And some of the girls were repeat victims, but not because he knew them.
Yeah.
He just took the opportunity because he saw the school uniform. So he didn't even know he'd already done this to some of the girls.
Oh, God.
And they said, they tried to get him. They had one grainy CCTV image of him. And they said, we've tried everything. Like, he's super aware. We don't know who he is. Like, there's no DNA, like nothing. So we're going to put you in a school uniform, which isn't, you've got to remember, the police have very bad humour. So we're putting you in a uniform, and I was looking around at the briefing and they were all like, and we're going to see if he takes the bait.
Oh, my God.
So for 2 weeks.
You knew, like, the route to walk.
Yeah, and there was a particular bus stop he liked to pick up, and then he would follow them and stuff. But yeah, I did that for 2 weeks, and it was February, it's freezing cold. No coat, because kids don't feel the cold. I was an adult, I needed a coat. And then the last morning of the deployment, my phone rang, my dirty phone, and it was the SIO, or the senior investigating officer, and she said, just end exercise.
Yeah.
Like, we've tried.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, these operations don't work. There's very few. I only know of 3 that have ever happened in the UK. Yeah. And as I was walking away, I heard this as I was walking away, I turned around and I saw this guy like peeking around like the corner, and I didn't think anything of it because these don't happen. So I started walking, thought nothing of it, and I could hear like these footprints behind me, and before I knew it, I was on the floor, and he had his hand around my throat, and he was doing what he needed to do. And I had
broad daylight, obviously.
Broad daylight.
School, yeah.
Yeah. But you don't normally have a safety team because on the job you just don't, it's not normal. But on this one, because of the risk, they'd put safety teams in. So we did have like some bin men who were actually police officers.
Okay.
People in the back of vans, people in a house watching. So what felt like forever was actually not long at all. It was like probably a minute.
A minute's a long time though. When something like that's happening, that's actually quite.
But yeah, the East London in me just came out of it. He got called a few names. But I'd had a camera on my back, so luckily it was all there. You could see him undoing his trousers. He's approaching, and he's really creepy.
Oh, it's awful.
But that was a good job because it was me. It wasn't one of the kids, and that as a parent, that makes you feel good.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know what you've stopped other people from experiencing.
Yeah.
But there must be trauma that's also tied with an experience like that. Or are you able to separate that was work?
Yeah.
Not me. It was the schoolgirl, not me.
Yeah, I don't really think about it. And I know that sounds awful. I don't, and I try not to. Only when I'm asked about it. Probably because of that, I don't know. But I'm busy. I've got such a busy brain. I just put things in little boxes and then don't think about that bit. Next, don't think about that. But that particular job now, I'm older and I talk about it. It makes me a bit sad because a couple of the mums from the girls have written letters saying, thank you so much. Like, my little girl can go to bed now and not wet the bed. And she sleeps. And I'm like, that's really why you do it, because you don't join the police to have a good balance, work-life balance, or the money, and even the pension's rubbish now. So you don't join for that. There's a reason you join, and I think that's what it was, the reason. But he went to prison. He's out now, which is a bit annoying, but...
And then you became a mother, so it must make you then reassess it all over again, because the experience you had and the insight you have into that world, that darkness, you must take that with you as a mother, and it must increase parental anxiety and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, when I had Amelia, I was only 21.
Wow.
And I was already doing that work and had a child, which is a bit, like when I look at that, I'm like, that's just stupid. But so I was doing it being a mum, and I just didn't think about it. I was going through a horrible divorce. It was super messy. So actually the job probably saved me, because it was I didn't have to be myself. I could be whoever I was being on a job. So actually it was probably a really good thing I was doing it, because otherwise I think I would have just, I don't know what would have happened. It was just horrific. But I'm super protective of Amelia and Albert, and to the point where Amelia was travelling, I had downloaded some software on absolutely every device she had, so I knew where she was at all times. I'd made her wear different items of clothes with different devices in them, because if her phone went, at least I could still locate her.
Yeah.
But to her, that's normal.
Yes, she's grown up with it.
She doesn't. She's like nearly 20, and I still know where she is right now.
How would you feel if she turned around to you now and said, "I'm going to go and be an undercover police officer"?
No, she's not. She can live off the bank, bank
what
of mum
I
and dad.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'd rather just pay for it for her, so she doesn't have to do that. Yeah.
How did you manage with being 21 with a baby, doing a job like you were doing? How did you juggle it all?
I have no idea.
Is it one of those things where you look back and think, I do not know how I survived that time
I was
in my
just
life?
tired all the time. My mum and dad were really good.
Okay.
Like my parents are really good. They're both separated, but they've never remarried. So I was fortunate. I had like 4 parents that could help me.
Right.
My mum's family's massive. She's one of 13, so she's got a huge family. So if one of them couldn't help, I would ring a family member, and a lot of my stuff would be either quite early morning or night work. So I would most of the time do the school runs, put her to bed. My mum would come over, and then I would go to work, and then I'd wake up. I'd get home, wake her up, take her to school, sleep for a few hours, and then it was just like this constant cycle. But I needed to do it because I needed to just escape life and get the money. I needed to pay for things. Yeah.
It's amazing. Looking back, you must feel exhausted just thinking about that time.
I'm tired all the time. Like I'm exhausted now, but again, like you only get one shot at these things, don't you? And I do like to think I make the most of opportunities that are given to me. And I never said no to any covert work ever, because I just wanted told, yep, you're doing a good job, and then carried on, do another one. And now if someone says, will you do it? It's so out of my comfort zone. I can't explain to you how public speaking is super out of my comfort zone.
So that's so interesting. You've done things like what you've just described. Of all because you said you never said no to any covert operation. Which, are there any that stick in your mind as the scariest, I suppose, or the hardest?
Probably the first deployment. I should have just stopped doing it after my first deployment. It was pretty horrific. When I say it, I'm like, what? Why did you not even question it? They said, we want you to go and establish crack. And I was like, okay. I was in Tottenham. And I was like, okay. They got me a lock on, like a dealer or a number or something. Yeah. No, we know it's being supplied, but we don't have any more. And I'm like, how has this even been authorised? Like now I look at it, how has this even been authorised? Because you've got nothing. And because I'm stubborn and don't like to lose, I was just sat outside this like bookmakers, like a betting shop, just like looking at it, and it wasn't the most pleasing on the eye, and I thought I'll just go in there. And there was this guy in the corner. I thought, yeah, he's definitely got connections. But I won't be rude to him because he helped me out. But he said, oh yeah, well, I can sort you out.
Oh my God, it's that easy.
Well, kind of. He then said, let's get on a bus. But I didn't know if I was allowed to do that, which sounds ridiculous now. I'm like, I don't know if I can get on a bus.
Yeah.
And then I said, no, let's walk. And he was like, yeah, all right. And then he was trying to sell me some jewellery that he'd stolen from a burglary the night before. But in my copper head, I was thinking, I could get that jewellery back and then return it to the owner.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. But then I won't have any money for crack. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like walking with him. And he'd agreed to get me it if I'd chipped him off and give him some of the crack. And he took me to this house and we got the crack and he chipped it off. But I was so like not experienced in the world of drugs, when he chipped it off, he basically took half of it. Towards the end of my career, I'd have been like, what are you doing? Like, we'd have had a fight probably, because you're taking so much. Anyway, we got the gear, and then the dealer decided he took a shining to what he was seeing and followed me, and we had a little chat, and I thought he was going to rob the crack back, and I was like, oh. So I told him I'd plugged it, and I hadn't. It was in my pocket. And he pulled me down an alleyway and told me what he wanted me to do to him.
Oh my God.
But I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh.
This is your first assignment.
Yeah.
My heart is literally pounding just thinking about
But I didn't know what to do. And I was thinking, if I run, he's going to outrun me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do. Oh, so I thought I'd just bite it. That's all I had. That was my only option.
I wasn't expecting that.
That's all I had. So he's pulling my head. I thought, right, because then if he's going to be on the floor a minute, I can run back to the main road.
Oh my!
You could see cars, and I thought I can just run up that end alley and be back on the main road and like get help. Luckily, I didn't have to buy it because I didn't know when they give me a phone. I didn't know because I was so inexperienced that it was a two-way mic, so they could hear everything that was going on.
Oh, okay.
So in the briefing room, they could hear, and they're probably thinking, "What is she doing? Why is she even down an alley with him?" They obviously didn't know what my plan of attack was, and I know it's awful, isn't it? And they sent a guy out to come and basically rescue me, but he made out he was my boyfriend, so that I could keep going back. So he was
undercover too, even when he.
Well, he wasn't. He was just a member of the like part of the briefing safety team. But he said he came up and he called me a few names, dragged me. The guy then said I wanted it, and I was like, "You." I didn't. I definitely didn't want that.
Oh God!
And then he called me a few names, dragged me back to the car, but they didn't blow my cover because they wanted me to keep going back. Because there's no point buying it once. You need to establish that it's a regular thing. And
so you had to see him again.
Yeah, he didn't touch me though. I was ready this time. I wore trainers so I could run.
It is mind-blowing when you think you were put into that situation. Like you say, how did it get authorized? Like, so young, so inexperienced in that sense on the job. So brave.
But at the time, you don't think about it. You just do it. It's only now I look back at it, I'm like, oh, God, that is stupid.
Yeah.
But you don't at the time think about it. And it's not all bad. Like that, you have to do the bad jobs like crack and heroin before you can get the good jobs. Because people go, yeah, but you was buying coke in a club. Anyone can do that. I'm like, I know, of course they can. But you don't just walk in. They don't just give you like your first assignment. It's like a cool club and you can go raving and buying like coke all night.
Yeah.
That's not what happens. You have to do the really awful stuff first. Yeah. And then you get like promoted almost to the good stuff. And that's like, who doesn't want to, I'm getting paid to go to a nightclub, buy coke all night, and I'm just stood here drinking and like having the time of my life. It was the best night ever.
And you obviously got noticed very quickly within the police force. And like you said, you got called to the old new Scotland Yard really quickly. What is it that about you that made you so good at what you were doing, do you think?
I think there wasn't many girls back then. Mm-hmm. Recruitment isn't like what it is now. Like you would have a couple turn up at the borough I think it was every 6 weeks or so. You might have a couple of new people turn up, whereas now you might get like 10 or 20. And I know it's all changed, so I know that it might be wrong, but I was quite young. Didn't really look like what you would think a copper looks like. Always had like, my teeth were intact. I'm not saying female coppers' teeth aren't. I'm saying that when you're going to buy crack, you know, it's not the greatest like look to have nice teeth and like always have my nails done. They knew that this is really bad, but they knew that I would go to like China Whites on a Tuesday with my mates. All of my mates are major party girls, so I would go along and just say I was a florist.
Right.
And like, not pretend. No one wants to talk to a copper, so I'd never say that. But I was a party girl. I liked like blow dries and fake tan. I used to have bad fake tan. Lashes, like proper, like something you'd see off Towie, basically. Yeah. So it worked.
It worked. Yeah. To your advantage. Yeah. And when you left, what was it like giving that badge back? Like, did you feel like my time here's done? I've done what I need to do, or was there sort of a part of you that was reluctant to leave that world?
I didn't leave. I took a 5-year career break.
Right.
And moved overseas. And when I was there, I became mum for the first time. I did all the school runs, all the packed lunches, never missed any plays. And because we lived overseas, the schooling was a bit different. You'd have to pick the kids up at 1 and then drop them back at 3.
Oh, wow.
Like in my old life, I could never have done that.
Was this in France?
Yeah. They would have Wednesday afternoons off because they had to go to school on Saturday. So it was like I couldn't do that. So I was involved in everything.
Right.
I became one of those mums, you know, like.
Don't tell me you were hand stitching school plays.
Yes, I was.
Oh, no.
And Lydia was an angel in one of the plays. And I was like, how can I make her wings different? But I was good at
sparklier.
Yeah, no, when I put lights in hers, and I knew how to do that because obviously I used to do my own covert kit.
Yeah.
So I was like, she had like these big wings that were too heavy with like a battery pack in them, and they all lit up, and all the other kids were just like, that English kid's so weird.
I'm so jealous of the mums like that, by the way, that have time to do the things like that.
But I did get bored a lot. Like Albert was a baby, so he'd like have a little routine, and I'd be like, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
My French isn't good enough to like start hanging out with the cool mums.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did get a little bit like, I need something to do it. Like this is getting a lot, and it wasn't like we was in like Saint-Tropez or like Nice, and I could just like float around. It was the northern part of France. It was very cold and rainy. And then I got the opportunity to go on Hunted, but I didn't know it was Hunted at the time. Mm-hmm. Somebody had offered me a job, and she done me really because she told me it was like she explained this briefing to me, and it was basically to find people.
Yeah.
But when she gave me the postcode, it's like Camden. I'm like, oh, it's probably just like a wealthy family lost their kid or something, and they want us to locate him or her.
Yeah.
That's how she played the story to me.
Did you just get a call from
a friend of a friend?
Friend of a friend back in England, yeah.
And she just done me. When I got there, it was a Tuesday, and I was going out because I hadn't been out for ages. I turned up looking like I don't even know what.
What was the tan doing?
Yeah, I had leather trousers on. Like, that's not appropriate, is it? Like, if you're going for a screen test, that's just not appropriate. And when I got there, obviously it was a studio, and I was like, what's this?
So you had no idea?
No idea.
You walked in. Wow.
And then they were very nice. I'd never ever dealt with TV people before, and they're all super nice. And I was like, wow, these people are lovely. She's like, if you could just sit down here, we're just gonna have a little chat on camera. And I'm like, no, you're not. Like my whole life.
You had the trousers.
Yeah, no. Well, I was just thinking, my whole life has been under the radar. Like no one, my own parents, apart from my dad, the only person that knew what I did was my dad.
Wow.
No one knew. My mum didn't know.
Your mum didn't know?
Nobody knew. And my mum's like, my mum would just panic. She's like a cross between Pamela from Gavin and Stacey.
Oh my God.
That's how she acts. And then she looks a bit more like Dorian from Birds of a Feather. So she's just like, my girls ain't doing that, my baby. Like she's real East End loveliness. Yeah, she's just like, no.
You built such a perfect.
She just wouldn't, it wouldn't have worked. She'd have told everyone as well. Like she would have been like, do you know where she's been? She's been behind crack in Tottenham. Not that she would know what crack is either. Like she's so naive. Yeah, she didn't know. And yeah, so I said no, absolutely not doing the piece to camera. And she was like, but they're very persuasive.
Yes.
I think she literally played me at my own game. Because it's normally me persuading you.
What series was it on at this stage?
First ever. I did the pilot.
First, so you hadn't seen it. You weren't aware of it. Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I look back because people always go Hunted, and I'm like, oh gosh, because I've done so much more stuff than that.
Yeah.
But it was that show that gave me the stepping stone and the platform to do other stuff.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
And did you meet Ben?
Yeah, but our paths had crossed before because
Okay.
his work was not too dissimilar to mine. Not for the same organisation, but our paths had definitely crossed before. But then I know we used to say, don't mix work and pleasure. And he got me. But to be fair...
You have failed.
I failed
hugely,
miserably.
yes.
But I needed some intel, and no one was giving me it quick enough. And I just thought, I'm going to message him. And I messaged him and said, I really need this information.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do any more work until you give me it. And that was like, well, you can imagine what he then said. And then it just went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And we've been together ever since.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Was it fun doing it? You were obviously reluctant to start the process, but once you were doing it and filming it and production was underway, were you enjoying it?
It's hard though.
Is it?
Because you're on the road, you're living out of a case, and you get given a hotel at 8 o'clock at night, and you're back on like the wheels up at 7 a.m. So you're just literally pulling your bag into a hotel, sleeping, getting ready, getting back out. And it's just, and it's such a big project that it's not all go, go, go. Like you see, you're sat around a lot. And I find that really difficult because I just like, well, let's just go and do it. And they're like, if it's not on camera, it didn't happen. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
just let me do it. But I get it. Now I get it. But at the time I was like, this is really difficult.
How close were the methodologies that you used in the sort of TV show to real life law enforcement methodologies and intelligence gathering? Is it very...
Yeah, it's all replicated, of course, but it's really, we can't just ask for CCTV not knowing there's not a they would literally make you drive to see, is there a camera in that vicinity?
Right.
And then you'd have to take a picture and then go, now can we have it? And then they'd be like ATM withdrawals and stuff. We could only get that if we had enough evidence to prove that we believe there's been a withdrawal, and then they would confirm or deny. But you had to have backup. You couldn't just ask for it. So it's really well, how they've done it is really clever.
It's quite interesting though, because when you talked about when you joined the police, it was sort of something that you weren't really sure about and you weren't really going to do, but you ended up doing it. And then when you talk about Hunted, it's the same story.
Yeah,
like they sort of tried to convince you didn't want any part of it, and then you ended up doing it. So since then, you're obviously co-founding the OSINT group now. You're co-founder of the OSINT group. You're doing your own business with Ben and another business partner. Is this the first time in your life where you've really wanted to do something and gone after it?
No. Even with this, we had a pretty decent contract, paid well, we were left alone, the work was fun. So to pull away from that to do this is actually quite a big risk.
Okay.
Because both of us are doing it. It's not like one of us is doing it and then the other one's, it's all right, we'll be fine.
Yes, when both of your incomes are tied in the
same
risk.
So for us, we were like, we're at an age like we either do it now or we'll never do it.
So tell me about the work that you do. What's a typical job, if there is a typical job that you would be contracted to do?
So we look after a lot of like sort of athletes. Most of our work's either in the UK or North America.
Okay.
So a lot of athletes, a lot of family offices, a lot of banking, C-suites. So we will literally go on. So what basically starts as is we normally end up doing a talk and they go, oh, I know what's out there about me. So we'll do like a digital vulnerability assessment on them.
Okay.
And see what is out there and what risk they are basically. And then we'll give that back to them, help them. We don't just tell them all their problems and then leave. We tell them how to make it better. And then we can then do their online monitoring for them. So it could be them as an individual, but it could be their company, family, whatever they want. It's kind of bespoke. And then we'll monitor their life for them online. So if anything comes up, we will tell them and we'll remedy it as best we can. A lot of to do with like security, overseas travel, everything to do with online life, basically, we can deal with. But yeah, we're really lucky. We meet some really cool people that I would never, ever have met in the police. I wasn't dealing with nice people like I am now.
Yeah. So is it business to business or business to individual? A bit of both.
Both.
Sometimes it's organisations, sometimes it's individual.
Yeah, both. But you'll find as well, when we do it business to business, it will be, they will end up then speaking to like the CEO.
Yeah.
And he'll say, actually do that on me. And then his wife will say, well, I'll have that as well. And it just spirals. So
snowballs.
We had a client came in last year off the back of a talk where I was nervous. And the amount of work we've had off the back of it's just phenomenal. It's great. Yeah. I'm not complaining, but even we were like, the three of us were like, we need help here. Like, we can't do this, just us three, because there's so much.
What's the most common motivation for someone coming to you and saying, do that digital assessment of me? Is it fear? Is it that there is something that they do that they're worried about it coming out? Or is it just that they're doing that sort of general digital MOT on themselves?
Some will be, they're scared. Some will be, they've done something and they want to know if it's out there yet. That happens quite a lot. Some is that they will see that, so for like banking or, I don't know, banking or a casino or whatever, they'll see that other people in the same industry of them have had issues recently.
Right.
So they want to see how at risk they are. So it can be anything, literally anything. And a lot of people don't even know it exists. So when you tell them, they're like, oh, actually, that makes complete sense. And like I was saying about like the athletes, they would have posted stuff 10 years ago and they're like, is that still out there?
Yeah.
Or blackmail, a lot of that.
Yeah.
We'll get people that have had things leaked, like videos and stuff, and they're like, can you get rid of that?
Yeah.
And you can, and if you can't, we'll just push it down.
Right, bury it.
But it gets to the point where you're like contacting all these platforms, you're like, go watch that video again. I'm so sick of seeing that. And they're so sweet as well, especially if you're in the States. They're like, I'm really sorry, you've got to look at that. And I'm like, it's fine. Just seen it plenty of times. But I like that they're proactive. Most of our clients are reactive.
Okay.
When it comes to that stuff. But we're starting to see people taking it more seriously, and they'll say, actually, before anything happens to me, let's go and do this. And I'm like, yes, finally someone gets us.
And why athletes? Like, I understand anyone in the public eye obviously wanting their own profile to be protected and certain things to stay buried, but why athletes in particular?
I don't know.
You just carved a niche.
I think so. And I think we're massive sports fans in our house. So I think when you enjoy something, you naturally look at it a little bit more and push for it. I don't know if even push is the right word, but like we're massive football fans. We're massive basketball fans. Like there's no sport really that we don't watch.
Right.
We'll watch anything. Our house is just sport all the time. So I think because we're so passionate about watching sport, we're like, I don't know, we just end up in that world. Ben and I did a show called Troll Trackers where we would go and find trolls that had been posting online to celebrities.
A TV show.
Yeah. And it was a really cool concept, and we'd literally doorstep them. And so you said about her, we'd take the celebrity with us. Do you want to say it to her face? And then they'd be like, oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, I've never heard of that, but that sounds
They
brilliant.
only did one, the production company that did it then folded, so they only did one episode of it, or one series of it.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Did you have any good celebrities on it?
It was fun. We did all the investigation as to find them as well, so it wasn't just we just went and knocked on a door.
Yeah.
We did all the open source intelligence behind it. And there was one we just couldn't get an address for, and his threats or tweets, as it was then, were so bad. Like he was saying, like taking pictures of pieces of grass and saying, I'm going to do this to you here and I'm going to drag you in there. And I was like, he's just wild.
It's unfathomable. It really is.
He was horrible, but we knew where he worked because he'd posted a picture of a poster. I don't know, some stupid joke, and it had the company name at the bottom of it. So we knew where he worked. So we did surveillance on the work address, and he just wasn't there. And we were like, he's got to be somewhere. And then I was monitoring all of their social accounts, and we knew his girlfriend because he'd posted her. So I was monitoring hers as well. And then she posted, just out of complete luck, I say you make your own luck, but this was a little bit of luck. She posted a pair of Ugg boots for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Oh. So I messaged her and said, can I buy them? She said, yeah. I said, I live right near you. Can I pick them up?
Genius.
And she went, yeah. And I went, great. And so I went and bought the Ugg boots, and he opened the door to me. So we knew it was his address. So the next morning we rocked up with the celebrity. They were scrambling to get her up as well, and because it was in Scotland. And he opened the door and he ran off.
Really?
Yeah.
Just saw the cameras and pegged it.
Wouldn't speak to anyone, wouldn't, just run off.
How often do you get to the right person, not through their own privacy lack of privacy online, but through friends of theirs or people in their immediate circle that give away information? Like, is that quite often your route in?
Yeah. If you've got, so with the C-suites, I always talk about, if they say, yeah, but mine's all locked down, I have LinkedIn. LinkedIn's not ideal, but I get why people use it.
Yeah.
We say, have you got kids? And they go, yeah. And I go, how old are they? And they'll be like, 16. I'll be like, amazing. Because I know it's now. And like I was saying before, if you're working at a big company or you're in the public eye, you don't even have to write an article about yourself or even know that article's out there, but there'll be articles about you and there'll be little nitpicks out of that. So we had one where this lady said, I don't even have social media, but there was loads of articles on her and they photographed her at her house, so you could see inside her house. And then you could just unravel it. So these tiny little breadcrumbs just build a bigger and bigger picture. And I think it's about making them realise we're the good guys, but we're trying to come at it from the perspective of a bad guy. Of
course, yeah.
And making them realise what hackers are looking for.
You have to get into that mindset to be truly successful at what you do, I suppose.
Yeah.
Without attribution, obviously, I understand you can't do that at all, but what's been the most shocking thing you found, without saying who it's?
Online?
About someone you were doing the using on?
It's actually common, and it's not an individual. This is something we see a lot. A partner, someone we were looking at's partner online in a compromising position. Not necessarily in that what you're thinking, but we've had a couple of different ones in a position that they would definitely not have known about. And obviously that then leads a risk to them being blackmailed.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
How do you report that?
Ben does it.
Love that. Of all the work you've done, you've obviously done a big variety of stuff. Books, telly, police, law enforcement, your own business. What are you most proud of?
The kids.
Oh,
Yeah, they are. They've done, like, for such young ages, they've done a lot. We've moved a lot. They've literally had to be, like, stuck to us for that my whole career. So probably them, and Amelia's seen a lot. Like, she obviously knows me and her father don't get on. So she's witnessed all of that, which is really hard for her to deal with. The travel is hard. Yeah, it's really cool. And I know it's really cool, but it is hard when they're being pulled away from their friends, when they're at school, and then we're moving again, or we're traveling.
So what's next? Is the OSINT group what you're putting everything into? Can you see anything beyond that, or are you happy where you are at the moment?
I'm not a settler, so no. There is more coming. There is, the OSINT group's just getting bigger and bigger, which is great. We've got another OSINT course. We teach OSINT as well, so we actually teach the police, which is amazing.
Wow.
But we have, like, in-person courses coming back, because obviously COVID, that stopped a lot of training and things like that. But we have more of them coming back. We're travelling a lot overseas. I'm getting married next year, which is obviously going to be quite mental. And there's another TV show that's really cool, but I can't talk about that one. But that's really cool.
Okay.
And I'm really looking forward to that.
That you're going to be on?
Yeah. That's different. That's fun.
Okay.
I think people will like it. I don't know if they'll like me being on it, but they'll like it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. We have had moments where we're like, how have we got here? Like, this is a bit mental. We was at an award ceremony the other week, and I was like I was fangirling over everyone in the room. And one of my, like, biggest inspirations, he came over and he went, "Can I get a selfie with you?" I was like, "I was going to ask you for a selfie."
No
And he
way.
was like, "Oh, I've read your book." And I was like, "Thanks."
Who was it? Come on, you can name drop.
Raphael Rowe. I was like, yeah, I love all of your Netflix shows so much.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, he's really cool. Like, really cool. His story is insane. Like, mental, what the stuff he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need a break, but we'll see what happens.
So I've pretty much run out of time, but we've got 3 last questions that I ask all guests on the podcast. So the first one is, what's your unpopular opinion?
My thoughts on drug culture and crime and how it's dealt with is different to when I was in the police. I think we just do a circle in the police, and we're not actually combating drugs at all. But since I've left, I'm like, you've got it all wrong. But in the police, I'm like, yeah, we've got another conviction. That's amazing. And it's just a massage game of figures, and I don't agree with that. So, and I don't think most of my colleagues would agree with it, really.
Right.
But when you're in and you're...
It's unpopular when you're in.
Yeah, you wouldn't ever go, "It's only crack, mate." You'd be like, yes, like, another arrest. Probably that.
No, that's a good one. Is there a lyric or a quote that you like to live your life by?
No risk, no story.
No risk, no story.
I sign all my books with that. And Ben bought me a really cool picture, like a penguin book.
Is it the penguin one?
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I saw it on your Instagram account,
Yeah.
and I screenshotted it, and then I've gone and bought it because
Have
I
you?
loved it so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my
Found
life
it.
motto, no risk, no story.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Love that. And finally, we play out each of our podcasts with a song that you choose. And we ask each guest to come up with whatever song they like to listen to put them in a happy mood, or to celebrate a victory, or a feel-good song.
No one's going to like my choices. I'm a garage girl, so no one's going to like that. I like a bit of drum and bass.
No, do it, 'cause it has to be representative of you.
God.
We have had a hugely diverse album of records that people have
No, everyone would be like,
so.
her. I don't mind a bit of Elton John, but my favourite song ever,
Love Elton John.
oh, this says so much about me, is the garage mix of Jaheim, Just In Case. That's my favourite song ever. When I used to go to Faces back in the day, I used to listen to that.
And that we shall use.
Then he'll be like, "Why are you not picking our wedding song?"
No, I think that's perfect. It's got to be whatever's truly authentic.
That is
to
me.
you. So, Danni, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been so interesting to hear all your stories.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I could spend hours asking you so many more. So thank you very much.
No, thank you so much for having me.
I'm Eleanor Dalloway, and you've been listening to a Grab the Mic production. Join us next time for more unmissable cyber stories.